Last week, you lost an argument to someone who was objectively wrong. You are still thinking about it. You replay the conversation in your head. You had the facts. You had the logic. You laid it out perfectly. And they just blinked at you. Then they repeated the exact same absurd point they made 10 minutes earlier. You walked away exhausted, hollow. That strange weight behind your eyes that no one talks about. You lost. Again. And you do not understand why. Here is the truth no one will tell you. Your intelligence is not your greatest weapon. It is your most dangerous liability. The very machinery that makes you brilliant is the exact thing that keeps you trapped in an endless war you cannot win. Arthur Schopenhauer understood this 2 centuries ago. He watched brilliant minds destroy themselves, trying to reason with those incapable of reason. He saw the pattern, he mapped the trap, and he designed a brutal, almost surgical method to escape it. Vort, what you are about to learn is not polite. It is not comfortable. It will require you to kill a part of yourself you have been protecting your entire life. But once you see it, you will never be drained by a lesser mind again. Let us start with your operating system. You are intelligent, you gather data, you weigh evidence. When new information contradicts what you believe, you adjust. You update, you evolve. You assume everyone works this way. This is your fatal mistake. Kahneman proved the brain runs 2 programs. System 2 thinks, it analyzes, it builds arguments. System 1 reacts, it feels something, slaps an opinion on it, and calls it truth. You live in System 2. You assume others do too. They do not. Most people are permanent residents of System 1. They visit logic occasionally, like tourists who do not speak the language. When you present your careful argument, you expect their System 2 to process it. But their System 2 is not home. And you are speaking mathematics to someone who only understands screaming. When your logic lands in their System 1 brain, it does not compute. It cannot. The architecture does not support it. So instead of upgrading, they reject the input entirely. They double down on whatever they believed before you opened your mouth. This is not a failure of your explanation. This is a hardware incompatibility. And here is the part that will keep you up tonight. So you are not losing because they are smarter. You are losing because they don't get tired. They have nothing to protect. You have everything to burn. Now we go deeper. In 1999, psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger published a study that should have changed everything. They discovered a bias so severe, so perfectly self-reinforcing, that it explains why certain people are immune to logic. The finding was simple and devastating. The skills required to be competent at a task are the exact same skills required to recognize competence. Therefore, people with low ability suffer from a hallucinatory level of confidence. They are not pretending to be certain. They genuinely cannot perceive their own incompetence. Imagine a man standing in a pitch-black room, insisting he can see perfectly. You turn on a flashlight and show him the walls. He squints at the light, annoyed. He tells you to turn it off. And he was doing fine before you interfered. This is the effect in action. The fool does not experience their ignorance as a gap in knowledge. They experience it as complete, comfortable certainty. The room is not dark to them. The darkness is invisible. When you arrive with your flashlight of logic, you are not illuminating anything for them. You are blinding them. You are disrupting their peace. And the human ego does not tolerate disruption. Here is the part no one explains. Ignorance is not a passive state. It is an active defense mechanism. It is a fortress with walls built specifically to keep truth out. When you try to breach those walls with facts, you are not seen as a teacher. You are seen as an invader. and the ego will burn down the entire kingdom before it admits the walls were built on sand. This is why your arguments fail. Not because they are wrong, because they are attacking a fortified position with the wrong weapons. Consider the mathematics of your interactions. When you engage with a fool, you spend enormous mental energy. You research, you structure, you anticipate counter-arguments. You choose your words carefully. You expend genuine intellectual labor constructing a case that should be irrefutable. The fool spends nothing. They do not research. They do not structure. They do not anticipate. They simply react. They feel something, and they say it. When you counter their point, they feel something else, and they say that. You are playing chess. They are flipping the board. And here is the perverse outcome. The more energy you invest, the more validated they feel. Your frustration proves to them that their point matters. Your careful rebuttals tell them their idea is worthy of your serious attention. Every time you engage, you are feeding them. Schopenhauer recognized this with surgical precision. He wrote that when you argue with a fool, you are giving them exactly what they crave. Friction. Friction makes them feel significant. Friction tells them they are in the arena with someone who matters. You lose not because they outsmart you. You lose because they outlast you. They drag you into the mud of their mental ceiling, and while you are struggling to breathe, they are perfectly comfortable. The mud is their home. This is the trap. The more intelligent you are, the more susceptible you become. You cannot help but see the flaws in their reasoning. You cannot help but want to correct them. The impulse to educate feels noble. It feels like your duty. It is actually your chain. So what is the solution? If logic fails, if evidence fails, if reasoned debate is a trap that drains you while feeding them, how do you win? You stop fighting. This does not mean surrender. This means something far more dangerous. You weaponize their own momentum against them. Schopenhauer's most savage strategy was something philosophers call reductio ad absurdum. In dark psychology, it has another name: giving a man enough rope to hang himself. Here is how it works. When a fool presents an absurd argument, your instinct is to attack the argument, to dismantle it, to show them exactly where and how they are wrong. Stop. Instead, you do the opposite. You agree with them, but you agree so completely, so violently, that you accelerate their argument to its logical, catastrophic conclusion. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine a colleague who insists that success is purely luck. Hard work does not matter. Strategy is irrelevant. People who achieve things just got lucky. The intelligent person's instinct is to argue, to cite studies on deliberate practice, to mention compound effort, to explain the relationship between preparation and opportunity. This is a waste of your breath. Instead, lean in, to nod slowly. You are absolutely right. Since success is entirely random, we should stop working immediately. Why are we even here? Let us go to a casino right now. The odds are the same as building a career. Actually, the casino is faster. We could be rich by dinner. I will go tell the boss we are leaving. You start the car. Watch their face. You have not attacked them. You have completely validated their premise. But you have driven their argument to a destination they never intended to visit. Fools operate on the surface. They make statements without thinking 3 steps ahead. When you force them to stare at the natural conclusion of their own logic, something short-circuits. Suddenly, they have to backpedal. They have to inject nuance. They have to argue against themselves to avoid looking ridiculous. You did not defeat them with your logic. You defeated them with their own. And you spent almost no energy doing it. But here is the part that will hurt. To execute this strategy, you must sacrifice something precious, something you have been protecting since childhood. You must kill your need to be recognized as right. Intelligent people are addicted to validation. We do not just want to win the argument. We want the other person to acknowledge that we won. We want the look in their eyes that says, "You were correct, and I was wrong." This is ego dressed as principle. Schopenhauer was brutal about this. He asked a simple question. Why do you need a blind man to compliment your painting? Think about that. You are seeking intellectual validation from people who cannot perceive intellectual quality. You are asking for recognition from minds that lack the capacity to recognize what you offer. This is not noble. This is self-sabotage. The moment you release the need to be validated by fools, you become immune to their provocations. They can disagree. They can misunderstand. They can walk away believing they won. It doesn't matter. You stop giving them the remote control to your nervous system. You stop performing for an audience that cannot see the performance. Now we address daily survival. You cannot avoid stupid people entirely. They are your coworkers, your neighbors, your managers. Sometimes they are your blood. Schopenhauer developed what he called the porcupine dilemma. On a cold night, porcupines huddle together for warmth, but their quills prick each other, forcing them apart. They are trapped between freezing in isolation and bleeding in intimacy. The solution is distance, not physical distance. Emotional walls. When you are forced to interact with minds that drain you, you do not bring your authentic self to the table. You bring an avatar. The avatar is a construct, a mask. It is polite. It smiles. It nods. It speaks in short, agreeable sentences. That is an interesting perspective. I see what you mean. You might be right about that. The avatar gives them nothing to attack. The avatar reflects their own noise back at them. Meanwhile, your actual mind remains protected behind a fortress of deliberate detachment. This is not deception. This is sanitation. You are present physically but checked out mentally. They believe they are having a conversation with you. They believe they are connecting. They believe they might even be winning. Let them. The illusion of victory is the cheapest pacifier you can give a fool. It costs you nothing. It satisfies them completely. And it preserves your mental energy for things that actually matter. But what happens when the fool has power over you? What happens when the irrational mind signs your paycheck, controls your promotion, or holds authority over your future? The rules change entirely. A person of low intellect who acquires power is the most dangerous animal in any environment. Their entire mental wiring is built on a fault line of unacknowledged insecurity. They sense, on some primal level, that they are outmatched by the minds around them. But they do not process this as a need to learn. They process it as survival mode. If you walk into their domain and display your intelligence, you are not proving your value. You are holding a mirror up to their inadequacy, and a fool with a crown will shatter the mirror before they look at the reflection. Schopenhauer wrote that to display obvious intelligence in the presence of mediocrity is an unpardonable sin. The mediocre mind experiences physical pain when confronted with brilliance. It triggers something deeper than jealousy. It triggers primal fear. They will not attack your intelligence directly. That would require admitting they recognize it. Instead, they will attack your character. They will call you difficult, not a team player, unreliable. They will use the bureaucracy of the system to bleed you slowly. You cannot out-argue a king in his own castle. You must outplay him. In the turbulent era of the Three Kingdoms, there lived a strategist named Sima Yi. He was arguably the most brilliant military mind of his generation. But he served beneath Cao Shuang, a regent of immense power and staggering foolishness. Cao Shuang was arrogant, impulsive, and deeply envious of Sima Yi's intellect. If Sima Yi challenged him directly, he and his entire bloodline would be executed. If he argued, he would be crushed. The system was designed to destroy exactly his kind of mind. So Sima Yi did something extraordinary. He faked illness. When Cao Shuang's spies came to check on him, Sima Yi performed a masterpiece of fake weakness. He pretended to be dying. He spilled soup down his robes. He acted deaf. He confused names. He looked utterly broken. The spy returned to Cao Shuang with the report. The regent laughed. He felt superior. He felt safe. He stopped viewing Sima Yi as a threat, and he lowered his defenses. Months later, while Cao Shuang was away on a hunting trip, Sima Yi dropped the act. He rose from his bed, orchestrated a lightning military coup, and seized the entire empire. Cao Shuang lost his head because he believed the performance. This is the Sima Yi gambit. Your intelligence is not a badge you wear on your chest. It is a concealed weapon. You do not draw a concealed weapon to impress people. You keep it hidden until the exact moment it serves your objective. When dealing with a powerful fool, feed them what they are starving for. Superiority. Ask them for advice on trivial matters. Let them correct you on small, irrelevant details. Thank them for their guidance. You are not submitting. You are sedating them. You are injecting their ego with a drug so heavy they fall asleep at the wheel. And while they sleep, you operate freely in the shadows. A small scratch to your pride buys you unlimited room to move. Now we confront the part of you that keeps you chained. It is not just ego. It is something that feels noble. Something dressed as virtue. Empathy. You feel sorry for them. You think, if I can just make them see, their life will improve. If I can just show them the flaw, they will avoid this mistake. This is arrogance wearing a mask of kindness, but you believe you are their savior. You are playing God with someone else's limitations. And here is what you refuse to accept. They do not want to be saved. Their ignorance is not a prison. It is a home. The walls are warm. The ceiling is low, but comfortable. When you try to drag them outside, you are not rescuing them. You are invading their sanctuary, and they will fight you like you are the enemy. Because to them, you are. Look at the people in your life. The friend who is always broke, but lectures everyone about money. The relative who creates chaos, but blames the world. The colleague who has been wrong about everything, but speaks like a prophet. How many years have you spent trying to fix them? Count the conversations. Count the hours. Count the energy. They have not moved 1 inch. But you have changed. You are tired. You are bitter. Your patience is gone. Here's the transaction you never agreed to. Your empathy has been funding their delusion. Every conversation is a withdrawal from your account and a deposit into their fantasy. Stop subsidizing their comfort with your sanity. Here is what happens when you stop. When you drop the rope. When you stop explaining yourself. When you observe the circus without participating in it. You experience a terrifying shift. Why, you realize how much of your identity was wrapped up in being the smartest person in the room. You realize how much you relied on the friction of debating fools to feel alive. When you remove that friction, you are left with yourself. And that is where the real test begins. Most intelligent people surround themselves with lesser minds on purpose. It is safe, easy to shine when everyone around you is dim. But the brain adapts to its environment. Debate trivialities long enough, and your mind becomes trivial. You must withdraw. Not physically. Mentally. Emotionally, you must become comfortable being misunderstood. Fools will misinterpret your distance. They will call you arrogant. They will say you have changed. They will assume your silence is weakness. Let them. Their judgment is based on a flawed premise. Why should the judgment of a flawed mind disturb the peace of a sharp one? Imagine walking through an asylum. The patients point at you and call you insane. Do you stop to argue? Do you present your credentials? Do you engage in a debate about sanity? No. You keep walking. You understand their perception is distorted. You do not need their validation. You do not need their approval. The world is a larger asylum. But the principle remains identical. We end where true power begins. Intelligence is knowing you are right. Power is not caring if they know it. Intelligence is winning the argument. To power is winning the outcome while they believe they won the argument. You came here exhausted, tired of the friction, tired of losing wars you were objectively winning. You thought the solution was a sharper argument, a better fact, a more compelling tone. Now you see the truth. The solution is not better weapons. The solution is leaving the battlefield entirely. The moment you release the need to be understood by those incapable of understanding, the weight lifts, the exhaustion vanishes. You watch them speak, and instead of anger, you feel calm observation. You see the patterns. You see the ego protecting itself. You see the wiring exposed. What is predictable can be managed. You are no longer a participant in their chaos. You are the architect observing the structure. You do not argue with hurricanes. You do not educate floods. You identify them. You prepare for them. And you let them exhaust themselves while you remain on high ground. Oh my, your intelligence is no longer a tool for their education. It is a weapon for your own construction. Keep it sharp, keep it hidden, and deploy it only when it serves your ascent. The fools will keep arguing in the mud below. Let them. You have an empire to build.